Okay, let's make some fried squash. So the southern way to do this is to slice these into big thick slices and batter them by coating them with maybe a milk and egg mixture and then dipping them in flour and putting them in some hot vegetable oil. No, we're not doing that. So first of all, I save time by quartering my squash. So we're going to quarter up this squash, and then instead of using processed flours and all of the things that I avoid, I have almond flour on hand. I also have flaxseed. This is not the ground flaxseed, although you can get it that way. This is actually the seed that I love to sprinkle on salads and things like that, but just showing you what I have on hand. And the hemp seed. So I love hemp seed as a good flour substitute for things like this. So I'm going to put all these in my mixing bowl. You don't have to use all of these. I just am because I have them. Normally I would just use either almond flour or just hemp seed or maybe a mixture of two of those, but I am going to do mostly almond flour just because this is more of the consistency of a cornmeal, and you know, my family likes the taste of this. So I like a little bit of this nutty flavor of this flaxseed. I'm just going to add a little bit of that in there. As you can see, I'm not really measuring. I'm using a measuring spoon actually just to scoop it out. I'm not a big measurer. I just kind of a little of this and a little of that. That's how I learned to cook. But this hemp seed is great. This is actually, I add this to give me protein. All of these have protein. Hemp seed has 10 grams and it gives me the most protein. I love it. I love the flavor of it. I love the nutritional value of it. It's amazing. So get you some hemp seed. All right, we're going to add a little bit of sea salt. And I don't know, that's probably maybe a half a teaspoon. And then some black ground pepper, of course. And then once we have that in, we're going to just put this squash that's already been quartered in there. I could pick up this cutting board and dump it all in there if I was trying to use my brain. But anyway, I'm making it hard on myself. But here we go. We're going to toss it all up. And I want it all good and coated. I'm going to use grapeseed oil to stir fry this in. So I'm going to put just a little bit of grapeseed oil on here just so that this flour mixture kind of adheres to the squash and I don't waste any of it down in the bottom of my bowl. I want it all on this squash. I've already put the grape seed oil in my pan. I could use coconut oil, grapeseed oil, or olive oil. Olive oil, go ahead and scratch that. It's a very healthy oil, but you want to use that primarily on salads or maybe drizzle on some roasted vegetables after they've primarily been cooked for some flavor. But when you're cooking at high temperature, you want to use coconut or grapeseed oil. Those are my two faves. And in this case, I'm going to use grapeseed oil. For those that's trying to get more saturated fats into your diet, maybe you're following a ketogenic diet, you might want to use coconut oil. But I love the grapeseed oil. They all have about 14 grams of fat. This is all good, healthy fat. All right, so we're going to cut up my my onion, and just cut those up little diced pieces. My oil is hot. Put the onions in, and that's going to start kind of searing there. And I'm going to toss that around just a little bit before putting in my squash. And it's nice and hot. Guess I just had some little extra onion right there on my knife. Get that off. All right, so we're going to toss that all around, start getting that a little bit brown. But oil is very important. If you're using cooking oil, Crisco or Wesson oil or any kind of vegetable oil or even canola oil, get those out of your kitchen. You don't need those. They're not good. They're man-made. They're very processed. All right, so we're going to add our squash. We're going to just toss that around as well. And the idea here is to cook the squash and get it good and tender, and the onions, of course, too. You could add some garlic to this as well. I just chose not to today. But anyway, you want to get the vegetables nice and tender, but you also want to get them nice and crispy. So the whole point in adding the almond flour, the hemp seed, and even the flax seed that I added on this one is just to give it a little something to get some crunch on it, okay? So we're going to toss that. We're going to cover it. When you cover it, it's going to cook the vegetables through a lot quicker. So this is going to take you about 15 to 20 minutes of just staying by your stove and working on this. This is why I don't do it very often. I really prefer a stewed squash or a steamed squash. I love squash any kind of way to cook it. But my husband loves some fried squash, and this is the way I can do him some fried squash without doing it the hard way. Now I could slice it and batter it with this almond flour and do it just the same way. It just takes forever. And I like doing a whole lot in a little amount of time. I'm just not, I like to accommodate my family, but I am going to do everything the healthiest and the easiest way possible for sure. So I'm just showing y'all, when y'all want to go a little extra mile, get you some crispy squash, this is how you do it. So we're just going to toss it, cover it, toss it, cover it, make sure it's not sticking on the bottom. I love my cast iron skillet. I wish I had one much bigger. However, if it was much bigger, my burner on my stove would not accommodate. So I'm cooking this on medium to medium high heat, and that's why you have to just stay right there with it. But anyway, it's just a process of just tossing, cover, toss, cover, toss, cover, until you get it at the very right consistency, which is almost there. Now keep in mind, you're going to cook this about 15 to 20 minutes, but here you go. After that time, it should be done, especially if you've covered it a total of maybe about 5 to 10 minutes of that time. So here you go. Let me show y'all how good and yummy this looks. So ready to serve. Don't pick up that iron skillet with bare hands. All right, there you go.